Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I mentioned in my last video that I would be doing some videos about different brands of watches besides Omega, and I wanted to start off with one right here, which I think is an absolutely beautiful and frankly underrated watch by Raymond Weil, and that is this Freelancer Diver. I have owned a number of freelancer models before, prior to when they were making this diver version, and they were more of a dressy watch without a rotating bezel, but very similar in dimensions and same jubilee style of bracelet. So I'm going to go through the positives and negatives of this watch and my conclusion, as well as comparing it to a Omega Seamaster SMPc, which I think sort of straddles the same line between tool and dress in appearance as this watch does. So the first thing that strikes you about this watch is that it's really easy to read. As you can see, it's a very, very clean, clear layout. This is most notably in the black dial version, which is this one, but similarly the blue dial, and I think there's a couple other variations. They all share this very easy to read nature. That's certainly helped by the fact that the crystal has some of the best anti-reflective coating that I've seen. This is a very high reflective environment here where I'm showing the watch, and it's just only the most minimal of reflections visible, and in most environments it's almost like the crystal is not there at all. That's not something new to this watch. Prior freelancers I've had shared that feature. I think that's something that they do very well. Otherwise, this is a pretty large watch. This is, I think, at least 42 millimeters in diameter, and though it's only 12 millimeters thick, it is very substantial feeling. The clasp, as you can see here, is sort of like the design of it's a one fold over clasp like an Omega, and here it is. Here's the watch next to the Omega SMPc. As I said, I would be showing it in the beginning of the video. It does wear slightly larger than it, but I think the fact that they both share this ceramic bezel insert and a fairly glossy type of dial renders them similar in sort of where they would be on the spectrum of watches, as I said, between a full-on utility tool watch or a dress watch. The Raymond Weil probably takes it one notch further in the dress department, simply because they use the Jubilee bracelet, which is not really something I associate too much with a dive watch. But because of the rest of the sort of high gloss, shiny appearance of the bezel on the dial, I think the Jubilee bracelet does make sense here. I do not automatically say that it's a rip-off of a Rolex. This watch really does not look like a Rolex at all to me. Certainly not the style of the bezel, style of the dial. So it is its own watch. It definitely doesn't look like anything else on the market either, which I consider a big positive. But probably where I think what makes the watch special is that it's a very good value for the level of quality. I would say it is pretty close to the Omega SMPc in terms of build quality and sort of heft and how solid it feels, and the Omega SMPc is a much more expensive watch, so I think that's something they did really well there. And feature-wise, it's also really not, it doesn't come up short either against the Seamaster. The Freelancer Diver does have 300 meter water resistance like the Seamaster. It does have a screw down crown. As I said earlier, they both have the ceramic bezel insert. Of course, applied indices should be basically mandatory at this level of watch today. So it really doesn't lack much in the feature department. It is as well made, and though this is a lot more subjective, I think it is also really nice looking. There are some things I've read. I've read a bunch of reviews of the Freelancer Diver to sort of get an idea of what others think, and people have pointed out things that they like or dislike. Something I came across in a couple of reviews was comments about the date window style of the Freelancer Diver. Now, if that bothers you, the newest versions of these Freelancer divers actually have the date at the 6 o'clock position, so, and it's just a single date. So, that concern taken care of if you don't like this. I actually think the triple date window on the dial at the 4 o'clock is an interesting feature. And why is that? Because the reason why that was developed is so that if the hands are blocking the date window, you can know what date it is. Now, obviously, that's probably not a common situation to run into, that you need to know what is the date at 3:20 p.m. or 4 p.m. or whenever a date window at 4 o'clock would be obscured by the hour or minute hands. But the fact that it has a sort of rational reason for existing, a purpose, I appreciate that a lot. Here's a view of the clasps and the caseback. The Raymond Weil does a very, very plain caseback. I do like a little bit of decoration on the caseback personally, because it's just, I like to admire the watch when it's off the wrist, but it's not a big deal, obviously, because you're not looking at it most of the time. The construction of the clasp I found very interestingly similar to the Omega Seamaster. You can see it here. And it does have the twin buttons and is pretty much just as solid, I would say. And now I'll show some wrist shots. Here it is on my thin wrist. It is a big watch, but like I said, it's under 12 millimeters thick, so doesn't look like a hockey puck on your wrist. It hugs the wrist pretty close. The lug to lug distance is somewhat long because the lugs are not too short. I think that's probably something that had to be done with this design of watch. I think the long pointed lugs are necessary where everything else about the watch is so round. It's basically a huge circle. So I don't think they really could have made the lugs shorter, unfortunately. This is the SMPc on the wrist. This one does wear better for my size of wrist, in my opinion. It does have shorter lugs, it is thinner, and it is slightly smaller at 41 millimeters. So I would say the Freelancer Diver, though I feel I can wear it, I don't mind when wearing a large watch. It doesn't really bother me, but I think it would probably be more suited to people with larger wrists. That being said, if you have a thin wrist like me and you don't care about wearing a large watch, like as is the case with myself, then it's fine. And here are the two of them next to each other, where you can get a better idea, of the size difference. I didn't get to talk about the internals much, but this watch uses, I think, what is basically a Sellita movement rebranded as Raymond Weil. I think it's called RW 4200. Pretty much your solid sort of entry Swiss automatic movement. I've never noticed any significant amount of problems with watches with these movements, and I wouldn't expect them here either. So let me know what you think. I think it's a really cool watch. Like I said, one of its great selling points to me is that you get a lot of quality for the amount spent. I wouldn't go buy retail on Raymond Weil watches. They're frequently available at large discounts, both from gray market and authorized dealers, and secondhand even more so. So it's definitely a great value for such a fine watch. Anyway, let me know what you think, as I said, and thank you for watching.